fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The scent of pine sap and wet earth clung to my skin, a heady perfume that made my heart race every time I stepped into the forest's shadow. I am Pippa, a woodcarver whose hands have known the grain of oak as intimately as a lover's touch. My workshop, hidden beneath ancient boughs, is a sanctuary of splintered beams and whispered promises, each chisel mark a confession to the world I keep hidden. The forest is alive in a way that no city ever could be. Sunlight filters through the canopy in thin, trembling ribbons, painting the mossy floor with gold. The wind sighs through the needles, carrying the distant call of a jay and the low, mournful howl of a wolf pack that has claimed these woods for generations. I have learned to read the language of the trees, to feel the pulse of the earth beneath my boots, and to hear the subtle shift in the air when something powerful approaches. Silas emerged from the mist like a storm made flesh. His fur was midnight, his eyes amber fire, and when he brushed past me, the heat of his body left a lingering ember on my cheek. He was the alpha of the pack that prowled the borders of my domain, a predator whose very presence set my pulse thudding against my ribs. Yet beneath the snarls and the raw power, I sensed a yearning that mirrored my own, an ache for connection that defied the law of our kinds. "Pippa," he growled low, his voice a rumble that vibrated through the wood, "the vault must be sealed. The wolves will tear us apart if we fail." His breath fogged the air, and I felt the weight of his gaze linger on the curve of my neck, as if he could read the tremor in my pulse. I pressed my palm against the ancient stone, feeling the coolness seep into my skin, the grain of the door pressing against my calloused fingers. The metal bolts sang a mournful note as they fell into place, sealing us inside a cramped chamber that smelled of damp stone and his lingering scent. Outside, the pack's howls rose like a choir of ghosts, each note a reminder of the danger that stalked us. Silas's hand found mine, his claws gentle against my wrist, a paradox of strength and tenderness. "Stay with me," he whispered, his voice barely more than a sigh, "or let the night swallow us both." The choice hung between us, heavy as the weight of the world. In that breath-stilled moment, I felt the heat of his blood against my skin, the electric thrill of forbidden love coursing through my veins. My mind swirled with memories of the first time his eyes met mine, an instant where destiny and desire collided. I could feel the tremor in his throat, the raw vulnerability hidden beneath his feral exterior. I tightened my grip on the door, feeling the wood's grain press into my palm, and made my decision. "I will not let you die alone," I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging outside. "We will face the pack together, and we will carve a new fate from this stone." Silas's growl softened into a purr, his lips brushing my ear, sending a shiver of longing down my spine. The wolves outside may howl, the world may condemn us, but in that sealed vault our hearts beat as one, an adult, fierce, and irrevocably bound love that would not be broken. The night stretched on, a tapestry of darkness stitched with the silver thread of moonlight. I could hear the wolves circling the vault, their paws striking the earth like drums of war. Each howl was a promise of blood, a reminder that the pack would not rest until the alpha's defiance was punished. Inside, the stone walls seemed to close in, but the heat between Silas and me grew brighter. I could feel his breath on my neck, warm and scented with pine and the metallic tang of his own blood. He pressed his forehead against mine, and for a heartbeat the world fell away. "Pippa," he murmured, "I have hunted these woods since I was a pup. I have known only the law of the pack, the law of the hunt. Yet when I saw you, shaping wood with a tenderness that no claw could match, something shifted. I am torn between duty and desire." I traced the scar that ran down his left forearm, a reminder of a battle with a rival pack. "Your scars tell a story, Silas. They speak of loss, of survival. Mine are the knots in the wood I carve, each one a memory of a life lived in secret. We are both marked, but perhaps those marks can become a bridge rather than a barrier." He lifted my chin with a massive paw, his eyes searching mine. "Will you stand with me when the pack comes? Will you fight for a love that the world deems impossible?" My heart hammered against my ribs, a drumbeat that matched the wolves' distant howls. I thought of the first time I had entered the forest as a child, chasing fireflies, feeling the earth beneath my bare feet. I thought of the day I discovered the hidden workshop, the way the sun filtered through the leaves and painted the wood in amber. I thought of Silas, his fierce loyalty, his raw, untamed spirit. "Yes," I whispered, "I will stand with you, not because I am fearless, but because I cannot imagine a world without you in it." Silas pressed his lips to my forehead, a kiss that was both a promise and a benediction. The stone door shuddered as the wolves began to batter it, their claws scraping against the ancient metal. I could hear the metal groan, feel the vibrations travel through my bones. I reached for the chisel that lay on the stone table beside me, its handle worn smooth from years of use. I had always believed my tools could shape wood, but now I realized they could also shape destiny. I lifted the chisel, feeling its weight, and turned to Silas. "We need a plan," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. He nodded, his amber eyes flashing with determination. "The pack will try to force their way in. If we can create a diversion, perhaps we can slip out through the hidden tunnel beneath the vault. I know of a passage that leads to the heart of the forest, a place the wolves fear." I remembered the old maps my grandfather had left me, the faded ink showing a network of caves and tunnels that ran beneath the roots of the oldest oak. I had never dared to explore them, fearing the darkness, but now they seemed like a lifeline. "Lead the way," I said, gripping the chisel tighter. "I will carve a path if we need to." Silas let out a low, resonant howl that seemed to rally the wolves outside, drawing them closer. The stone door shuddered again, and a crack appeared along its edge. I could see the faint glow of moonlight seeping through the fissure, illuminating the dust motes that danced like tiny fireflies. "Now," Silas whispered, "push." Together we heaved against the door, our combined strength a blend of muscle and magic. The metal bolts gave way with a screech, and the door swung open just enough for us to slip through. The corridor beyond was narrow, the walls slick with dampness. The air smelled of earth and ancient stone, a scent that made my lungs fill with a strange, comforting coolness. Silas led, his massive form moving with surprising grace, his paws silent on the stone floor. I followed, my heart pounding in my ears, my mind a whirlwind of fear and exhilaration. The tunnel twisted and turned, the walls narrowing until I could feel the stone pressing against my sides. I could hear the wolves' howls growing louder, a chorus of rage that seemed to echo off the very bones of the forest. At a fork, Silas stopped, his ears pricked. "We must choose quickly," he said, his voice a low rumble. "One path leads to the old oak, the other to a dead end." I glanced at the markings on the stone, tiny scratches I had made years ago when I first discovered the tunnel. They formed a crude map, a series of arrows pointing toward the direction of the ancient oak. "This way," I said, pointing with my chisel. "The oak is our sanctuary." Silas nodded and surged forward, his powerful shoulders pushing us deeper into the darkness. The tunnel opened into a cavern lit by phosphorescent fungi, their soft blue glow casting eerie shadows on the walls. In the center of the cavern stood a massive oak tree, its roots sprawling like the veins of the earth itself. The tree's bark was thick and gnarled, its leaves whispering in a wind that seemed to come from nowhere. I could feel the ancient magic pulsing through it, a steady rhythm that matched my own heartbeat. "We are safe here," Silas said, his voice reverent. "The pack respects this place. It is a sanctuary for those who seek refuge." I sank to my knees at the base of the oak, my hands trembling as I placed the chisel on the ground. The wood of the tree was warm, alive, and I could feel its life force intertwining with my own. "I have always carved wood to create beauty," I whispered, "but tonight I carve a promise." I began to carve into the bark, each stroke deliberate, each line a vow. The chisel sank into the ancient wood, and as I worked, the scent of pine intensified, mingling with the earthy aroma of the cavern. Silas stood beside me, his massive form a protective shield against the darkness. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice soft, almost tender. "I am carving our story," I replied, my voice barely audible over the distant howls. "A story of love that defies the law, of two souls bound by fate." The wolves' howls grew louder, a storm of sound that threatened to shatter the fragile peace of the cavern. I could feel the vibrations through the ground, a reminder that danger was never far. Silas placed his massive head against my shoulder, his breath warm against my skin. "We will face them together," he promised, his eyes blazing with fierce devotion. As I carved, the bark seemed to respond, the lines glowing faintly with a golden light. The ancient oak, a sentinel of the forest for centuries, recognized the sincerity of our bond and lent its strength to our cause. When the final line was etched, a simple heart intertwined with a wolf's silhouette, I felt a surge of energy ripple through the cavern. The phosphorescent fungi pulsed brighter, casting a radiant halo around us. It is done, I said, stepping back to admire the carving. Our love is now part of this forest, a testament that even the fiercest of beasts can feel tenderness. Silas lowered his head, his amber eyes reflecting the glow of the carving. He pressed his forehead to mine, and in that moment the world seemed to hold its breath. "We will not be broken," he whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. "The pack may hunt us, the world may judge us, but this forest will remember us." The howl outside reached a crescendo, then abruptly stopped. A heavy silence settled over the cavern, broken only by the soft rustle of leaves above. We emerged from the tunnel as dawn painted the sky in shades of rose and gold. The forest was alive with the chorus of birds, the gentle rustle of small creatures, and the distant, subdued howls of the pack, now a mournful echo rather than a threatening roar. Silas stood beside me, his fur glistening with dew, his eyes still amber fire but softened by the light of day. I felt the weight of his hand on my waist, a gentle grip that spoke of protection and partnership. "What now?" I asked, my voice barely more than a breath. He smiled, a rare, genuine smile that lit up his rugged features. "Now we rebuild. We will carve a new path for our people, one where love is not a crime but a celebration. We will teach the pack that strength lies not only in the bite of a fang but in the softness of a touch." I nodded, feeling a surge of hope swell within me. The forest, with all its ancient wisdom, seemed to approve. The wind whispered through the leaves, carrying with it the promise of new beginnings. Together we walked back to my workshop, the sun filtering through the canopy in golden shafts. The scent of pine sap and wet earth clung to my skin, but now it felt like a blessing rather than a burden. I could hear the rhythmic tap of my own heart, steady and sure, echoing the beat of Silas's own. Inside the workshop, the familiar scent of fresh-cut wood greeted me. I set down my tools and turned to Silas, who watched me with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. "Will you stay?" I asked, my voice trembling with anticipation. He lowered his massive head, his amber eyes locking onto mine. "I will stay, Pippa, for you, for us, for the future we will carve together." The words settled over us like a warm blanket, sealing the promise we had made in the darkness of the vault and the ancient oak. I felt a tear slip down my cheek, not of sorrow but of pure, unfiltered joy. From that day forward the forest knew a new legend, a woodcarver and a wolf alpha who dared to love beyond the boundaries set by tradition. Their story was etched into the bark of the ancient oak, whispered by the wind, and carried in the hearts of every creature that called the woods home. And as I sit now, chisel in hand, the scent of pine sap still clinging to my skin, I hear Silas's steady breath beside me, feel his warm body against my own, and know that the love we forged in the shadows will forever illuminate the path ahead. Our love is fierce, adult, and irrevocably bound, an unbreakable thread woven through the very fabric of the forest, a testament that even the wildest hearts can find a home in each other's arms.